Have you ever felt like you're alive, but not really living? Like you're going through the motions, breathing, moving, eating, working, sleeping, but somewhere along the way, you stopped feeling it. The days blur together into a grey nothing. The ancient Stoics had a practice for this. They called it memento mori. Remember you must die. It sounds dark, doesn't it? Morbid even. But they believed it was the key to waking up. Because here's the thing about death. We spend our entire lives pretending it won't happen. We push it to the back of our minds. We distract ourselves with 1,000 little things. We act like we have forever. And that's exactly what makes us numb. When you believe time is infinite, nothing feels urgent, nothing feels precious. You put off the conversation, you delay the dream, you save your real life for later. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote in his journal every morning. He reminded himself that this day might be his last. Not to scare himself, but to wake himself up, to make the day matter. The Stoics understood something we've forgotten. Awareness of death doesn't take life away. It gives life back. When you remember your time is limited, suddenly everything sharpens. Colors get brighter, moments get heavier. Think about a time you almost lost something. Maybe a person, maybe an opportunity. Remember how alive you felt in that moment, how present. That's what memento mori does. It creates that clarity without waiting for crisis. We're terrified of death because we think it takes meaning away. If everything ends, what's the point? But the Stoics saw it backwards. Endings are what create meaning. A song without an ending is just noise. Seneca wrote that we're not given a short life. We're given a long life. But we waste most of it. We spend it on things that don't matter. On autopilot, on numbing ourselves, on waiting. But when you remember death, you stop wasting. You become allergic to meaningless things. That toxic relationship, you don't have time for it. That job that drains you, life's too short. That grudge you're holding, death makes it absurd. The Stoics practiced this daily, not just thinking about their own death, but everyone's. Your parents won't be here forever. Your children will grow up. Your friends are temporary. This meal, this sunset, this conversation, all of it is limited. It sounds sad, but it's the opposite. When you know the dinner will end, you taste the food. When you know the conversation is finite, you actually listen. Scarcity creates presence. We avoid memento mori because we think it will make us anxious. But the opposite happens. When you accept death, you stop fearing it, and when you stop fearing it, you stop living like you're already dead. The fear of death keeps us small. It makes us play it safe. It makes us postpone joy. We think, I'll live once I'm secure, but security is an illusion. You are never safe. None of us are. Epictetus, who was born a slave, understood this deeply. He taught that death is not in our control, but how we live is. We can't choose when we die, but we can choose to be alive before we do. Memento mori isn't about being morbid. It's about being honest. You have maybe 30,000 days on Earth. Maybe 25,000 of them are already gone. The question isn't if you'll die, it's what you'll do with what's left. When Steve Jobs was diagnosed with cancer, he said death is life's greatest invention. It clears out the old to make way for the new. It reminds you not to waste time living someone else's life. But we don't need a diagnosis to wake up. The Stoics said to practice dying every day. Not literally, but to imagine it, to feel it, to let it sharpen your vision of what matters. Ask yourself this: if today were your last day, what would you regret? Not doing something brave, not saying something true, not loving someone fully. That feeling, that's your compass. That's what memento mori reveals. The Stoics believed every night is a small death. You close your eyes not knowing if you'll open them, and every morning is a rebirth, a new chance. This is why they started each day with gratitude. Memento mori makes you grateful, not in a fake way, in a real way. You stop taking things for granted because you see them clearly for the first time. They were always temporary. You just forgot. It makes you kinder too. When you remember everyone you meet is dying, just like you, it's harder to hate them. Harder to judge them, easier to see them as fellow travelers on a short journey. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now, Let that determine what you do and say and think. It's not a threat, it's a filter. Does this matter? Will this matter? Does this deserve my limited time? We waste so much energy on things that won't matter when we're gone. The argument, the grudge, the status, the approval. Death strips all of that away. It shows you what's real underneath. What's real? Love, connection, beauty, truth, growth, contribution. These things don't disappear when you remember death. They become the only things. Everything else is just noise you mistook for music. The Stoics said to live each day as if it's your whole life. Not frantically, not desperately, but fully, with attention, with intention, with the awareness that this moment is all you truly have. Memento mori isn't about dwelling on death, it's about using death. As a tool, as a teacher, as a wake-up call you give yourself daily. Because you don't need to wait for tragedy to start living. Every spiritual tradition understood this. Buddhists meditate in graveyards. Monks keep skulls on their desks. Not because they love death, but because death teaches life. It's the ultimate perspective shift. When you forget you're mortal, you start acting immortal. You postpone, you procrastinate, you save your best self for later. But later isn't promised. Later is a myth we tell ourselves to avoid living now. So what changes when you remember? Everything. You stop scrolling mindlessly. You call the person. You take the trip. You say the thing. You forgive. You try. You fail. You live. Marcus Aurelius died on a military campaign at age 58. Seneca was forced to take his own life by Nero. Epictetus lived with chronic pain from being tortured as a slave. They all knew death intimately, and they all chose life fiercely. That's the paradox of memento mori. The more you think about death, the more alive you become. The more you accept the end, the more you embrace the middle. The more you remember it's temporary, the more you treasure it. This isn't morbid. This is freedom. Freedom from the illusion of forever. Freedom from the trap of someday. Freedom to be here, now, fully, without apology or delay. Because you finally understand the truth. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. It's not a tragedy. It's a fact, and facts, when accepted, become tools. This fact is the most powerful tool you have. So remember, not to scare yourself, but to wake yourself. Remember you must die. And then finally, you can start to live. Really live. The way the Stoics did. Fully present, fully grateful, fully alive. Memento mori. Remember you must die, not as a curse, but as a blessing. The blessing that makes everything else matter. The blessing that gives this fleeting, beautiful, impossible life its weight, its urgency, its meaning. You are never going to live forever, but you can live fully. You can live awake. You can live like someone who knows the value, knows the brevity, knows the gift. That's what the Stoics offer us.